but simplicity to practice schedules too. I really try to keep it simple. I think the simpler a task, the quicker you learn it, the more likely the recall is going to be better. I think when you know something, you perform it at a quicker level too. Like you can play a little faster. And so we try to keep things simple.
Welcome to the Jamodi Podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is Jamodi, just a matter of doing it. Today we are joined by the head men's basketball coach at Cornell College, Dave Schlabaugh. Coach Schlabaugh took over Cornell's program in 2017. He led the Rams to the title game of the Midwest Conference Tournament in back-to-back seasons, 2022-23 and 2021-22, compiling a 24-8 MWC regular season record during that span. Coach Schlabaugh's record-setting 2021-22 Rams won the MWC Tournament Championship, the program's first WMC crown since 1994, and qualified for the NCAA Tournament for the first time in 13 years. He carries more than 35 years of coaching experience at the high school and collegiate levels in the Hawkeye State. Coach Schlabaugh has been the lead instructor for Snow Valley Basketball School since 1999 and is actively involved with USA Basketball. Before we hear from Coach, take a moment to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on social media at Jamodi Podcast. There he is.
Yeah.
Hey, Coach. How are you?
I'm doing well. Busy time of year, but good time of year.
Oh, well, thank you so much on that note for making the time coming on Talking Hoops with me. I've been following you on social media. You've kind of worked for or been around some of the coaches that I've had other conversations with, Coach Showalter being one of them. And so this was just an honor for me. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, I appreciate that. And got to spend the weekend with Coach Showalter in Cleveland. So it's good. He's so busy that even though he still lives in Iowa, he's all over the place. So
yeah,
anytime we can get together when it's not just Snow Valley, just when it's not just camp season. And
that's right.
So definitely enjoy spending time with Coach.
How did the clinic go?
Went really well. It was interesting. It was, I think they've got 2 more to go. Yeah, it's USA Basketball Coach Academy. And we had, I think, 8 speakers on Sunday or Saturday. And then Coach Showalter and I did the Sunday session, which is in an auditorium. It's more like film breakdown. And I actually did stuff on organization, how to be organized as a coach, and just some hacks that I have to use to keep myself going in the right direction.
Coach, if you don't mind, if any of those are fresh on the top of your head, what are some of those hacks that you did share?
It was really good. And I'll tell you what, Matt, I think we had some great speakers on Saturday that, talked about, Jim Boone was there talking pack line.
Awesome.
Good friend of mine. And, just coaches, different things that they emphasize. And I told Coach Showalter that, I can talk about two-sided break or spacing, whatever it might be. But really, everybody has to find their own little niche, whether it be on offense or defense. And
yeah.
So I thought, what do I do just to stay organized? And so part of what my talk was just, as coaches, our brains never stop. I mean, it's a 365 a year type of deal. And I don't know if I'm different than I would guess most of us get some really good ideas late at night, or you might wake up, or you might try to do something late. You might get up early. But I'll come up with something, or I'll think something's important to me. I might see something that I really like, but it might be April or May, and I know I might not need it till, maybe November.
Yeah.
So I've got to find a way to catalog it and put my thoughts together. Have an easy way to go back to something. You might see a video on YouTube of, something. Maybe it's how to break a certain defense that you may not see. Then all of a sudden someone's starting to run it. Well, I want to be able to go back and find something really quick.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the talk. And I think it went really well. On Sunday, they keep 30 or 40 coaches for the second day. And it's more like just classroom stuff. And so it was interesting. But some of the things that I talked about was you find that good article, you read an article. I save it to an app called Pocket. I don't know if people use it, but you save it to Pocket. It's an app on your PC, or I use it on my phone more than I use it on anything. But what it does, it takes that article and then I can tag it, put it in different folders based on the tagging. But it takes it out of that web format. And I'm not an expert, but then when I go to read it, it's just all the ads are gone.
Wow.
It's just like reading, something on a Word document. And if there's videos attached, it's still embedded in there. But then I can just go put in folders. YouTube. I've been a big YouTube user for years, and I just make playlists. So I share the playlist with the coaches there in Cleveland. I might have 200 playlists, and usually per season, it's like right now I'm working off of just like it'll say 23, 24 practice ideas, 23, 24 offensive ideas, 23, 24 horns, sets, or, whatever it might be. Well, if you go back far enough in my playlist, you'll see 21, 22, the same folders based on year. Or, it might be 131 defense, or 131 press break, or, 131 zone offense. Two-sided break. It could be really good European coaches that you follow, really good American coaches that you follow. I watch a lot of EuroLeague stuff, so I've got some certain favorite types of things that I look at there, and so I know if something comes up, or you get a call from a coach, Matt, that like I'm really struggling for this, and I know I'll have video or notes to share with them. So we looked at that. I showed them how to use Synergy. We did some stuff on Huddle, and I just also talked about. We use an app called Lucio. I don't know if you've ever seen that, Matt, but it's awesome. So Lucio
you
is
spell that?
Luceo, I believe. Let me triple check on that. Luceo. And that's our playbook. So all of our even software to draw plays, it's on Lucio. Lucio is great, so it's more just a digital playbook. So if we have a certain set, say we call it 20, like Coach Walter's 20, we would show it being run. Then we would draw it, and it'd be animated drawings. There might be 3 clips of it. Or I'm also the type of guy that I know I'm not a genius, but I do gather information pretty well. And if we're going to change how we're running something, and it's something that I like, maybe I pull something off Olympiacos, in the EuroLeague, or you see something in the States that you really like, I'll get as many clips of that video as I can too. I don't want to trick the guys into thinking anything we're putting in I just came up with.
Yeah,
I stole
that's good.
it from somebody.
Yeah.
And so it's just a way, if we're going to put in like a set from Olympiacos, I'd rather them see how Olympiacos runs it 8 times. And then we'll also have clips of us doing it 5-on-0, 5-on-5. So having a digital playbook, Lucio, is pretty impressive too. And I think that's pretty affordable. I know in Iowa, the IBCA, which is a real big state, it's a great state organization for coaches. They've done a great job for 50 years. It's just been a real strong coach association. They've got some direct partnerships with people like Lucio, or I think that high school coaches can get it for very, very affordable. Like what I'm doing might be a little bit more, getting the college package. But Lucio's good. Just different things, like I use iPhone, like notes on an iPhone.
Yeah.
So I've got different folders, 23, 24 offensive ideas. And if I see something I like, I might film it, film it with my phone off the TV, the old deal.
Yeah.
Then I'll save it into this folder, and that 23, 24 defensive ideas, offensive ideas, culture ideas, that's never ending. And that started as soon as our season ended a year ago. I'm already starting to think for this season. And so you get that great thought in May, and then you kind of go away from it a little bit, and then it's like, oh, where are my notes? So I try to catalog everything. I talked about making forms. So if I'm watching film or I'm watching practice, I've got pre-made forms. It's got some diagrams plus places to make notes. I always, as crazy as this sounds, I always put that in a different color paper. So if I'm looking at my desk, and I try to be pretty orderly, but there's a lot of pages of white in files. If my notes are a bright green or a purple or something, it's easier for me to pull out. I know that's stuff that I've been doing note taking. Little things like that. I was diagnosed with ADD as an adult. I think when we were kids, we just thought we were hyper. I don't think
you just need to
there's
get
a diagnosis to it.
You just need to get beat more. That's all. That was the answer back then. It's more.
Yeah. So I think it was the diagnosis of my mom probably thought I was ornery.
That's right.
And so I have to find ways to stay organized, to stay kind of going in the right direction, and it's just a way you've really got to work hard. And I know I told the coaches on Sunday that I'm not nearly good enough not to be a grinder. I mean, I've got to be a grinder. I've got to work hard at the craft. I just think that I wasn't a D1 athlete. I've got to be somebody that's just always trying to learn, and I think that everybody is can do that. And we talk about that a lot. And I know Coach Schwalder talked about that a lot on Sunday morning as well, just to keep grinding. But that's I don't know if I can show it here. They laughed at me. My players laugh at me all the time. I've got one of those old Bic 4-color pens.
Yeah.
And it's funny what keeps me organized. And
so different colors mean different things.
Oh, absolutely. So if a practice plan, I've got all sorts of different things going on, and in note keeping, and I keep pretty good. I've always got things sitting around the house. Like this is called, I don't know if I'll pronounce it right, DUKTIG, Duktig brand. It's it's just there. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's chord diagrams. It's flexible. I've got one by my nightstand. I've got one in my living room. I've got a couple in my office. USA Basketball always gives nice little books. So I always have something with me, and we talked about, like, you still got to be pen and paper. You still got to be able to take notes, scan them in, whatever, catalog them somehow. But then I think digitally, you've really got to use some of the resources on your phones, and YouTube's really good. And it's amazing when we were younger. Some that Coach Shaw and I talked about the other day as well. Like, I still have boxes of notes. The first Final Four I ever went to, Coach Showalter took me to Dallas. I think it was 85 or 86. We stayed at the Lowe's Anatole Hotel, which I don't even know if it's still there anymore. And we actually stayed with, and you being a Texan, you probably know Mike Kunstadt.
Oh yeah.
And so we stayed at Mike and Jerry Kunstadt's house, first Final Four I ever went to. And but I still have notes from the clinics at that Final Four. Now I haven't opened some of those boxes in about 3 moves. I've got stuff, but I think an important thing to remember is, if you put it down with a pen and paper, I think your recall's better. I think it sticks. Now, I still remember things from those talks, but I haven't even looked at those notes in years. But I think the fact that I wrote them down, I just think it works better for me. And my guess is it works better for most people, that if you write something down, if you take good notes, I read someplace years ago that most successful people in the world, they're have similar traits, but the most common trait among the most successful people was they were really good note takers. And so just little things like that we tried to share on that Sunday morning in Cleveland. And beautiful school. We were at St. Ed's High School in Cleveland. Coach Eric Flannery's school. He's a good guy. And so yeah, all in all, it was a great weekend, and hopefully some people got some things out of just note taking, whether it be Evernote. There's a lot of note taking apps.
Yeah.
Just find a place that you can get the stuff you need pretty quickly, and then share stuff. I've always had people that have shared with me. I've been pretty fortunate. Well, first and foremost was my first job. Was hired as, about 22 years old, 21 years old, was being assistant coach for Coach Schlabaugh at Mid-Prairie High School in Iowa. So I kind of won the lottery early.
You started well. Yeah. Yeah.
But through that, a lot of people have shared with me, and we try to be in a culture of sharing with the coaches that I hang with, for sure.
Coach, I know that those guys that were in attendance got a lot out of that, because those nuggets that you shared right there, I mean, I really feel like I needed to hear that, because like you, I'm constantly filming the TV, screen recording things on my phone that I see on Twitter or on YouTube. And then I have this, my phone gets full, and then I go back through and I just put everything into Google Drive. But I think what I suffer from, and what majority of coaches suffer from, but maybe that's the difference between, those 1%ers. Like, I would consider you a 1%er, like somebody that, like, I struggle with procrastination. I have all these ideas, I have all these things, but I don't take the time to organize them, to really put them in files and things. And I mean, it's nice that I'm thinking about it, looking for it. But again, the ability to find things and to stay organized and to share with other coaches, I want to be better at that. But I think, what's a system? Like, I've been, searching for that. Now, once I learn it, like from someone like you, I got to do it.
Yeah, I think it's just something you've just got to commit to. And I really have to do it, or it's not going to work in my world. I've got to be better. I've got to probably do things. I got to probably work harder than a lot of people have to, just to make sure I stay organized. And you say Twitter, and my wife's always like, "Gosh, you're always on Twitter." And well, I'm not looking up anything but hoops, man. I'll tell you, the easiest hack for my Twitter is all these actions I see, I just hit bookmark, and I'm running our Cornell men's basketball Twitter. I'm running Snow Valley basketball camps Twitter, and I'm running my own.
Wow.
So I'm always going back and forth, but I bookmark it to my own. And I see some, like Fran Fraschilla has been putting up some really good 3-on-3 stuff lately.
So good.
And we had Christina Bestini. She's a really good coach from prep school on the East Coast. And she's USA's, I think, 22 and under 3-on-3 women's coach. And so I had a couple of these things, and she spoke Sunday as well, or Saturday she spoke, and I said, "Hi, Christina, could this work?" And it was just like a little, just a little bunch deal over there, where then all the guys slipped out of it, and I said, "You know what? That is really cool. Now, could you translate some of these ideas?" Now, Nick Legalbo is another. I don't know if you know Nick. He's head coach at Lane Tech in Chicago, and he works for us every year at Snow Valley. Well, Nick is like the 17U 3-on-3 national coach as well for USA Basketball. And I always wonder, can some of those concepts of 3-on-3, and I think my answer is yes. So if I see some action in 3-on-3, a lot of coaches will go, "Well, yeah, but there's two other guys out there." And I said, you better put two really good shooters in each corner. And
that's right.
They better have some gravity to where they're at. And then I think you can do some things. So if I see something, I bookmark it, and then I go back and, but I'm always looking different stuff. I get a lot of stuff from like Slapping Glass podcast.
They're good.
Chris Oliver, or, whoever, you get a lot of things. And, I think another thing, Matt, too, is I spend about $125 a year, which is the cheapest entertainment ever, and I get that EuroLeague TV package. So you can watch every EuroLeague game live, all the Euro Cup League games live or archived on demand, probably back 5 seasons. Great stories on some of those coaches. I think, and I like the NBA, but I would guess I don't watch a ton of it to maybe the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that basketball really translates to how we play just because of, well, the athletic level probably is first thing.
Defensively too. Yeah.
And just the rules defensively.
Yeah.
So I think whatever you see, the Euro League teams are really good about changing tempo, whether they're breaking tempo, switching your offensive tempo defensively against you, or they're trying to dictate tempo with like second and third side early actions. It's really pretty interesting. So I do invest in that as well, and I do watch a ton of EuroLeague basketball.
Coaches, the Jamodi podcast is powered by Shoot 360. The future of basketball has arrived in Dallas-Fort Worth. Shoot 360 combines the latest sports technology with the fundamentals of basketball skill development. The result is a one-of-a-kind video game-like basketball program designed to improve your shooting, dribbling, and passing. Visit shoot360dfw.com to learn more and register for your free 1-hour workout evaluation. Shoot 360, the future of basketball is here. I already talked a little bit about some of the organizational habits that you have, but I think guys that have coached for 35 plus years and been really successful and are great leaders, they have some daily habits that I think we can all learn from. And so I'd love to hear from you. Just what are the daily habits that set you up for success?
I think first you just got to be curious. You've got to always want to find something new out. I think you've got to explore things that are going to be good for you and your program. You've got to look at things maybe that you are not sure about, maybe you don't like, but you got to convince yourself that, that's something I would never do with a team. It's a style I wouldn't play. But unless you understand it, I think you just can't like throw anything away too quick. So I think every day just growing up, ready to learn, ready to try to get better at our craft. I think part of your daily ritual needs to be, is there somebody you can help? Is there something you can do for not only your players, but for other coaches? I've just been so lucky to have people share things with me. And again, I think a lot of that was just because having Coach Showalter hire me at such a young age, and a lot of people don't understand, just how great having a mentor like he, and there's other great mentors out there, but to have somebody be able to help you grow, then at some point you've got to understand that you've got to try to give some of that back as well. And then I think you just try to make your day like checking in with relationships, reading something. I can do much better at probably more of a healthy lifestyle, like more exercise. Those are things that I need to be better at. So I think you have some flawed systems too. I think sometimes you work hard at what's important to you, and then you forget that there's other things that should be very important to you. And then obviously try to connect with family every day. And I'm fortunate. My wife and Julie and I have 4 great kids. I've got 2 grandkids.
Nice.
It's funny how that starts to dominate in your world too. And, checking in with grandkids almost daily, things like that. Checking in with my guys as much as possible. D3, we have like 27 guys on our roster. And so it's hard. It's hard to try to be around them as much as you'd like to. And, but I think just being curious, Matt, I think just trying to learn something every day, trying to know more about something. I get kind of on those tangents too. And I've got an assistant coach, Steve Otteson, who was a 40-year high school coach, never was an assistant, was always a head coach. He got out of it about the same time that I took a head job here at Cornell. And So I convinced him to coach with us, and he's been great for me over the years. But he's like, all you do is basketball. So he encouraged me to, and he loves to golf. He knew I loved to golf. I just wasn't doing it.
Yeah.
So first thing I went out and bought new clubs. He and I started playing all the time, and my son Zach is my assistant coach, and he loves golf as well. So I think a balance too. I think I'm in the best spot I've been in years because I'm allowing myself to have some other hobbies. And a lot of times I was so wired to my season that I didn't allow myself to maybe go out and have more fellowship like that with people people I like to spend time with. And so I get on something too. So I do a lot of golf studying too. You'd think my game would get better as much as I do. And but I think that's been a good kind of an outlet, if that makes sense.
Yep.
But that's kind of my days, just, you know, trying to give something each day to somebody, just trying to pass something on. I think that's an important part too. And to be a mentor to as many people as you can. I think that's helped me be a better coach as well.
I think a lot of people believe that the coach's life, there's just so much time that we have to do so many things, and all we do is basketball or X's and O's. But you just named a bunch of things, 27 players that you have to that you're responsible for, your assistant coaches, and then your family, and then when you get to your point where those kids and grandkids, I mean, golly, the time just really goes. And so, one, keeping that balance is really important. But again, that's why organization is so huge. Because if you're not running your day is going to run you pretty quick, and then there's going to be slippage. Where again, I think I get to maybe hit some of those relationship parts, but I don't set the time aside to be organized and to have these folders and systems like you have. But now I appreciate you sharing that.
No, and that's good. And you know, as organized as I try to be, there'd be some people, my wife would say I'm not very organized at some things.
Well, you're just in the things that she cares about.
Yeah, and so it's kind of the things that really pique your interest that you've got a burning desire for. I probably pay more attention to, and sometimes household chores don't always line up with that. So I got to make time. That's a little bit more time blocking on that. And it's, you talk about being busy, and we are super busy right now. Like the NCAA finally is kind of let up a little bit on us D3 dudes, where we have 8 practices now that we can use. And so I think it's smart. You can kind of catch up on your young kids. You can let them know they're not living in a college vacuum by themselves. Like whatever they're feeling, missing home, so is the other 5 freshmen on the team, or the other 7 freshmen, whatever. So it gets you a little bit more chance to get the pulse of your guys, not so much basketball wise, just how's school going. You know, I know you're homesick. We're have finals today, and then we have block break for 5 days. So get home, go see some people, because then, you know, we've used a couple of those practices. We're finally getting to have our hands on them a little bit earlier, which I think is really good. And not, you know, the basketball part of it, you know, absolutely is important, but I think just seeing them more regularly, more in a schedule, you can tell, like, you know, is something going on or whatever. And I think it just helps transition into their first year of college. And it's no different than when you send your own kids to school. I mean, your own daughters or sons go to college. You always want them to be involved and to stay busy and kind of find their own way. But I know the one thing we talk about, like getting ready now for practice, and you got to be your own. You got to, you know, you take from people, but I still got to make a practice plan and a system that fits our guys and fits me. And like a big contrast, I would guess, would be like Coach Showalter always, and that name keeps coming up. That's how important he is to everything I do. But he always had his practices planned for weeks ahead to the minute. Well, there is that's not me. We work on daily practice schedules because I never quite know which direction we need to go.
Yep.
And if I'm too disciplined, too far out on that, I feel like we just are doing drills to drill. And so I'm a little bit more like day to day, like what do we really need to get better at today, and so, but people can be successful how you plan your practices, because obviously that's two contrasting styles there, and he's a Hall of Fame coach and 62-0 for USA basketball, 10 world titles. So he
It's
kind of
hard
knows
to
what he's
say
doing.
that it's hard to say he's doing it wrong. And that's
Yeah,
not
hard to
what you're
say he's doing it
saying.
wrong.
But
It's just
you're
for me,
saying
it's
that
different.
you got to have that self awareness, know who you are. I do always feel like there's a struggle between discipline and feel on the coaching side. Disciplined with the plan that you have, sticking to those times, but then in the moment, the feel of we need to stay in this area a little bit more, go a little bit deeper. You know what? Hey, we got that. Let's jump out. Let's go to something. Or the feel of this is what we did yesterday. Today we need to hit that again. I would say I'm personally more on your side, but the problem I go maybe even sometimes too with feel is not being as disciplined or as organized as I need to. The danger with that, in my opinion, is you can waste time. You can
Yeah,
talk too much.
yeah. We always it's kind of a Snow Valley camp culture that we all live in, and those camps are unbelievable.
My goal is to work one. I've talked with
Well,
Coach
we got to get you up
Showalter,
next
and
summer.
yep,
We'd love to have you, and we always try to tell, especially the first time clinicians, and we get some great coaches. I mean, we got anybody from NBA guys to former NBA, former college, great high school Hall of Famers to up and coming high school coach. I mean, middle school. We've got such a 1,500 kids, 4 camps. That's about 300 coaches, and just we always try to say teach in sound bites.
yeah,
Don't talk too much. And Coach Showalter just did his presentation, first part of it in Cleveland, was the 10 mistakes that he thinks high school coaches make, and one of them was like overcoaching.
mm.
One of them, it was some stuff like that, like don't overcoach, don't talk too much. And he also says the players really don't care how smart you are. I mean, they just want to know that you've thought a system out that's going to work for them. And I think that them knowing that you care for them probably is more impressive to them than how smart you are. And
That's good.
you don't need to use practice as a sounding board to show how smart you are. I think you've got to be organized with that. No, I think that's just some good advice for sure.
No doubt. And part of that coaching and sound bites, or I have on my board coaching tweets, the idea
Yeah, there
of
you go.
something small and compact, or what is it called now? Coaching X's? What do we?
I'm still a Twitter guy.
We're still saying Twitter. Yeah.
I cannot change. So I still call it
I'm not going to send an X. I'm going to send a tweet.
I'm sending tweets. I'm reading tweets.
But part of that too is it not only does it keep us from trying to sound smarter than we really are, but repeating information that we've already said. And I've found myself in my longer talks with players, if I really go back and think about, I said the same thing multiple times in a 30 to 40 second little range right there, where all I needed to do was say it once and then trust them to take that information and go play or put it into practice. That idea of coaching and sound bites really helps, I think, me. And I literally just did it, of saying the same thing again.
I think I catch myself too. And I think you get all sorts of if you like basketball immersion will talk a lot about like how to structure your practices and great resources. I think Chris Albert does a wonderful job. There's other things out there too. I don't want to shortchange. There's other great influencers on practice habits and such. Like do this, do that. But I think at the end of the day, it's still got to be you. Now I think my practices look like me. They look like my personality. They look like what I emphasize, and we don't complicate it. I think our practices are always open, so we try to get as many high school coaches, middle school coaches, whoever, I just ran into a tremendous basketball. Was a girls player in Iowa, one of the best. Went on to a Big Ten school, and just ran into her at Coach Show's book. There's a book signing in Iowa City.
Can't wait to order that. That's going to be
yeah,
awesome.
It's an awesome book, and she's a girls high school coach here in Iowa, but she thinks like we all think. She's like she explores. She goes down the same rabbit holes we do with the same sort of like different people to follow or to try to find some information. And so I invited her to our next practice, and she'll be there, and she's awesome. And I just remembered her as being this high school player that was really good at kind of a competing high school of ours, and what a wonderful person she is. And so I think if she comes to the practice, she's going to think that practice kind of fits like, well, now that I know Coach Schlabaugh, that it's not like staged. It's not, I'm the king of going overtime if I need to. I try not to make the practice time go over, but my coaches sometimes look at me like, oh, I guess we're not getting to that today. I say,
Cut that out. Cut that part off.
And I don't know, man, if that's right or wrong, but if I'm 10 minutes into something and I think we're 3 minutes away from mastering it or being better at it, why put it to bed and then try to bring it back up the next day just to get that same sort of learning momentum back? Or sometimes it's just like I'm 6 minutes into something and it's just like, I don't lie. I'm kind of a tinker guy that I put something in. It all looks good on paper, but it's got to make sense to me on the spacing on the floor. I think whatever this offense is, at some point I've got to see it with live bodies with real space.
Yeah.
Because that dot on a white sheet of paper doesn't show a big 6'7" person long guy guarding it either. So it's all that spacing's got to make sense. And so I might really like some, and my guys will know it, and I'll say, hey, I just saw this last night at 1:00 in the morning watching a EuroLeague game, and I like it. I think it'd be good for us. I don't know.
That's great. Yeah.
So we'll try it. We also do some things at practice. I feel like I'm kind of jumping around here a little bit.
I love it.
We have we've got like a portable projector. Those aren't very expensive anymore either. We've got we can pull a deal down like whatever to a screen, and we've got those lights you can turn on and off. They don't have to heat up, cool down, which is nice. And if we're something that we want to put in, we might just like shut the lights off, turn that thing on, watch 45 seconds of clips. And again, it could be a European team that we're going to try to pull some things out of a set. And then we go out and work on a little bit, come back, look at it. And the same way with scouts, like this is something they're doing. And we might not do like a 45-minute scout. We might do one every 20 minutes. We might spread 4 of them out over 2 hours. But we always go over, turn the lights off, watch it on screen. That's why I think having our playbook with Lucio now being more of a digital playbook, I'm kind of like the guys. I think I learn better just by seeing visual.
Yeah.
But I know young people definitely do. It's a world of media, and just having it right in front of you, whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. Because I remember some of the toughest kids I ever coached were back at Mid Prairie High School, and that we had binders and we flipped in handwritten stuff, and they got it. I just don't know if they do as well at that anymore. So we do a lot of that kind of stuff too.
Coach, I'm going to encourage you. I think you're right on the money with what you're doing. But to your point, it's not right or wrong. It's obviously it's knowing who you are. I love the idea of using that technology throughout practice, because different from when I played in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was more hear it and do it. But we know now, especially, there are those 3 types of learners. Some hear it, some do it, but some need to see it. And I think within a practice, if you can incorporate all 3 of those, And part of that is bringing in the film. These, I think, what gets them more excited than anything else is when technology is involved in something. And so for us to be able to bring that in like you're doing is great. I love the nugget that you said about I'm the king of going over time. But big, because when I heard that, I kind of paused. Being a high school coach, having a mandate from my AD, but then also understanding that like our players need to know when practice is going to end, and they need to be let out at that time, not just for their parents, but for their own sanity and for the long season. But then you made the distinction of I will go over in a drill as long as it takes. That's why I feel like coaching is a little bit more art than it really is science. The science part may be figuring out the time sheet that you have and how to weave through a practice plan. But the art of it is that feel of when we need to stick, when we need to go. They got it. Let's stay and let's get deeper. And I feel like that's a struggle for most coaches is riding that fine line between I want to keep moving. We have things we got to put in, but we need to stay.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And every now and then, that's one thing about, I don't have 8 cars pulled up in a circle in front of the school with moms waiting to pick kids up, So, if we're supposed to get done at 6:45 and we go to 7, that does happen.
Obviously different, but I was just making a point on.
But I try to stay within that constraint of like that, whatever it is, and it shortens as the year goes on, obviously. But it's my coaches do poke fun at me that like, oh, I guess we're not getting to that today. Well, no, we're not. And
coaches, the Jamodi podcast is powered by Ballogy. Manage and measure your players' skill development and increase accountability year-round utilizing the Ballogy app. Boost inter-squad competition with drills backed by the National High School Basketball Coaches Association, including a 40-shot Ballogy skills assessment. Please visit ballogy.com/teams for information on how you can provide this resource for your team.
But simplicity to practice schedules too. Just simplicity. Like I asked the people on Sunday, like I said, I really try to keep it simple. I think the simpler a task, the quicker the quicker you learn it, the more likely the recall is going to be better. I think when you know something, you perform it at a quicker level too. Like you can play a little faster. And so we try to keep things simple. So I asked the coaches on Sunday, and we had a wide variety. We had a really nice guy that he's trying to coach his daughter's 4th grade team, but he'd like to go with her all the way up through and help out.
How cool is that? Yeah.
We've got a guy that works for us, Mike Harden, that works for us from North Dakota, does the same thing. He comes to Snow Valley now because he's a retired military guy. And so he just wants to do workouts. And then through that, he's bringing 16 girls to Snow Valley from North Dakota, And so I had guys like that. And Mike Harden was at one of Coach Shoulder's coaching academies, And so then he come work Snow Valley. So that was kind of the audience I had, was high school head coaches, assistants, some middle school people, men's and women's sides. So it was a really good crew of people to talk to. So I threw out something. I said, okay, how many sets do you think we have? And I know the one guy goes, 65. And I said, do you guys think more or less? People go, oh, maybe less, maybe more. I don't know how many sets I had last year, but I guarantee we've only rolled into a game with maybe 3 of them.
Yeah.
Maybe had some, threw it away. And that's that tinkering again.
Yep.
Did it, didn't like it, change of horns, I probably got 5 ways to do things out of horns, but we might only go into a game with a couple being loaded, ready to roll. And I wouldn't guess that we had more than a dozen sets all year, but we probably didn't roll into the end of the year with more than about 3 or 4 live ready to go. That doesn't mean you can't draw something up out of recall, out of timeout, and then come out and run it, because we do that a little bit. But offense is pretty simple. I mean, you're just trying to get to some simple actions. I think defensively, don't overcook that as well. Just try to
Yeah.
keep you're faster when you know what you're doing. And defensively, we don't need 50 ways to defend a ball screen. Let's find a happy medium. And then I think you just scout stuff. I think you gotta guard by scout a little bit as well, not completely getting away from your framework, but you know. So I think when high school coaches come and watch us, I think their first thing probably puts them back a little bit, like, well,
This is it.
He's sure going up the floor a lot 5-on-5.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but last time I checked, we go up and down the court 5-on-5.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we play. And so we never run. I mean, we never do killers. If we're doing a killer, I'm
We
mad
run to
about
win, not run to consequence or anything like that. And Coach, the moment you started talking about playing fast and fast basketball, I mean, that piques my interest. Like that is one of my passions. And because a lot of times when coaches talk about wanting to play fast, I mean, my first thought is, okay, how many plays do you run? How many continuities do you have? How many secondary breaks do you go? Like, how many actions do you require? Like Chris Oliver talked about musts and possibilities. How many musts do you have that they have to get through before a possibility pops up that they can choose from, where they can attack some space? To your point, if you want to play fast, you want to play up tempo, you want to make things easier for your players, it's simplicity. But that ends up being sophistication. They're able to do more and see more, be more aggressive, have that, that 0.5 second mentality on the catch because they know possibilities. There's space actually for that to happen. And they're not having to think so much. That thinking really slows players down. Not that we want them to not think at all, but we want them to be instinctive when they play, but know what they see and be able to do it.
No, I agree. And when you really break your seasons down and I'm kind of in and out on stats and analytics. I mean, I pour into them and it's needed, but it doesn't like occupy my mind all year either.
Right.
I use them when needed and I believe in them. I really believe in them. I believe it sets, especially on like what type of shots are good, what type of shots aren't good. Points per possession, we know it's this, so let's go find this. We know the other teams per scout, they're good at this. This kid gets to this. Well, let's try to take that away from, defensively, just try to take that stuff away, get them to take some less efficient, try to take the type of shots away that they make their most off of, and think in those terms. But I do know that you have to, like a fast break. I really like Brett Tipton, and I'm sure you probably Brett Tipton he's over in Germany now, but he's a big two-sided break guy, and so he's come out and worked for us at Snow Valley, and there's a lot of so if you look his stuff up on you, he's going to give you hours on the two-sided break. So in theory, there's a lot to that, but how we teach break, it's just like, let's get down and get to corners. We got to bracket that somehow. We got to get someone above, at a 45, kind of above that. And then our handler, they've got to be able to attack. It's all about getting to two, getting to paint, drawing defenders, spraying it.
Yeah.
And so I've never seen two fast breaks that even look similar. I mean, each one's their own little unique model. And so if you really break down, kind of circle back to the analytics of it, I don't know how much teams really score. I know it looks good. And a lot of presentations show the 10 clips of when they just really shoved it down the court and got what they wanted. I don't know how realistic that is. So to think that you're just, and I fall in this trap of spending so much time in transition early. Well, I think I'm better off just saying we're playing in space. We have to space our transition, and through that's going to give us some possibilities or opportunities. And so we probably teach it a little bit more that way, like how are we balancing the floor with spacing? The main goal is to draw defenders in that lane if we can get in there, and then to consistently have shooters that can catch and make them on the perimeter. And there's where, like, we didn't shoot it as well this year as we shot it the year before. We always are on that cusp of, I mean, our last two teams have been pretty good. Not dominant, but pretty good. We've been in the NCAA tournament, and I think we're 31-7 in our league the last 2 years. So I think we're doing some good things there.
Yeah.
Count the tournaments too. But it's not like we're getting a bunch of race out layups. We just don't. I don't think. I don't know.
I think drilling, to your point, pitching ahead for a rip and finish and repping that a ton. Like, I think we need to practice the things we do the most, the things that actually happen the most when we play. We do want to up it, maybe for an open three, or what we would call a 7 on our shooting scale. But I'm more concerned with, when we do up it, what can he do with it at that point? What space is available to him, and how are the others reacting to what he decides to do? Can he one more it? Can he baseline drift? Doesn't he just attack the world in Brunson and just, what we say, relax and chill for a second there and allow people to get their feet set? I think you're right on the money. The ideas of, 5 guys circling through and continue to up it, lay it, up it, lay it, up it, lay it. Maybe at the end of the day, what is it? Is it a finishing drill for conditioning? Or do we actually think that that's something that we're going to get a ton? Like a rim run, in my opinion, rim runs don't happen very much. So I would rather a guy, instead of going down there and sitting where we want the ball to go, I'd rather get shooters wide to corners, like you just said, man, open that thing up and allow offense to begin as soon as leather touches our fingertips. I had a coach say that, he's like, when we get the ball, we are in offense. I think that's a shift, a mind shift. And if you are more of that conceptual style, like Doug Novak and all these guys now, it's like, leather touches, guys, we're on offense, which means our concepts are on. It's not once we cross half court. It's not if we don't get a layup, we're going to come back out and run offense. We're already in it. Coach, I apologize for that rant right there. Sorry.
Oh, I like it. And you brought up something about how you grade your shots. I know I just watched a short clip of Tyler Costin just did something. I just saw that. And he talked about looking for 9s and 7s. That's
right.
So I'm not the smartest cat in the world. So I'm like, okay, he's got some sort of hierarchy, what shots he's looking for. And so I replayed it a couple times, then tried to go find some more of his stuff. Search. I was like, all right, now I don't want to reinvent the wheel here. I would love to see what, like you say, a 7. A 7 is probably a catch and shoot 3. Like,
Coach, I'd be honored to go through the scale, because Tyler and I are pretty good friends. I worked for PGC for years. And so the shooting scale is something we teach in shooting college. It's all Dick DiVenzio. So not to burst Tyler's bubble at all. But like you said at the very beginning, we're all borrowing.
We're all borrowing.
I do think Dick DiVenzio is one of the few where that dude's a creator. There's some of those guys that you have to, if you retrace anything, there has to be somebody that thought, all right, like, there's a different way to say it. And so Dick, but Coach, in my opinion, and I've said this a lot on here, so some people are going to like skip ahead or tune out, but in my opinion, shot selection scale and teaching it that way with my team is the number one thing that I've borrowed that's transformed our culture, overall culture, but offensively, the way how aggressive players are, and to get them to play courageously, because that's really what we want, to shoot with courage, to make one mores because they believe in their teammates. And shot selection is the most personal thing to players. What erodes confidence from between the coach and player, it's how you tell that player what they can and can't do with their shot. And so instead of talking in vague terms of, hey guys, only good shots right now. Well, you got little Timmy on your bench that thinks his best shot or his good shot is from half court step back. 5 different dudes that think differently about that. And you can try to, describe it here or there, different ways, good, great, bad, better one, stop taking bad shots. Anytime I hear coaches say that, I believe there's going to be conflict between them and their players. I want us to be in harmony and unison. So I ask my players, what's a 10? And they give me all different answers, coach. A dunk, a layup, a free throw, a wide open shot. And I just ask them, guys, you ever missed a layup? They all raise their hands. I raise my hand. I give them the same story. Playing in Iceland for 1 year, my only place in the world that would have me play pro basketball was Iceland. I got a steal, 1-on-0 break, missed a layup, got the rebound in the air, missed it again. And so we take tens off the table. So when a parent comes up and says, man, Johnny from 15 feet, he never misses that at home. When the sun's shining, there's no wind and everything's great. I just say, hey, guys, there's no 10. A 9 is a wide open layup. And we will hunt for 9s. We will be patient for 9s. We'll take every 9. We don't worry about missing 9s. Like that's a good goal for us. You skip 8s real quick. A 7 is a wide open jump shot within their range. The within their range part, I tell them that's where coaching comes in. Through our shooting, through our shooting games, through how we chart, through how they perform, we're all going to know what your 7 is, and we're going to all be on the same page. So then you go back to 8s and 6s because Tyler's right. We want to hunt. Our offense should produce 7s and 9s. And that allows me to be not attached to the outcome of any offensive possession. Because if I'm only clapping when the ball goes through and I'm frustrated when we miss 9s or 7s, they're not going to play with courage. So if they miss 7s and 9s, they're going to see the same smile and cheering from me as if even though they make it, which, coach, that's hard. But again, we're talking, go ahead.
I think we're the same way. I'll be real curious. I'm going to definitely tell you to send me that. And our guys know what we like because with Synergy, we chart all of our practices. We know if we're a 1.1 whatever, that's a kick out 3, long close out. That's a catch and shoot. You don't have to. You can shoot a set shot if you want. I don't care. That's a shot that you're at no pressure. So I think our guys understand that at a pretty high level. So I think early on when they have pickup games, I know that they correct the young guys.
Yeah.
It feels like when I finally get into practice, somebody's been working with them before, but it's our older guys. Like, we don't take hard shots. And we'll say that. And I think if you ask any of my guys that have been with me for a while, like, what does coach get mad about most consistently? I think they'll say, well, if you don't take a wide open 3 when you have a chance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I always think, and I think this is good for coaches too. We know the shots we want. We know some players aren't ready for that shot, but they've got to shoot it in practice. And then outside of practice is where I said, I'm not going to get mad that you take that shot because that's a shot that we're preaching is what we want. Now, how you get on the floor, how you get minutes, or the people are the most efficient at taking the shots that we want. I mean, they make them at the highest level.
Yep.
And then also you've got to defend and all that. I mean, that plays into it obviously too. But I don't get mad at if we're trying to convert a kid that was stuck inside his whole high school career. I mean,
I like that convert. Yeah.
Yeah. We had a kid named Cooper Cobbler. He's not a kid. He ended up leaving here, the all-time leading scorer 2 years ago. But he's a high school center. Didn't shoot a ton of threes. He has our season record he shot 50% his like junior year from 3.
Wow.
Made a lot of threes. He was kind of a crafty old lefty. I always said, Coop, you're so slow, no one can guard you. I mean, he just had all the old man moves. And then his best friend, Jordan Mignani, broke Cooper's record this year. So we have back-to-back all-time leading scorers. And Jordan got it by making threes, getting to the line. But we do Nova drills every day. And all that it's all Jay Wright stuff, like you talked about Brunson. We do it 2 ends. We go real quick with it. We probably have 20 different ways to do it, maybe more. You just keep making them up, but it's drive, 2, up, river, pivots, Barclays, get to 2 spray, get to 2 throwbacks. We'll have 4 or 5 of those every day, and we do them at both ends. But Jordan was as good as anybody in Division III at getting to 2 at 6 foot, getting up, getting shoulder, getting here. He was amazing. He was player of the year in our league. And so you get what you emphasize. And so we emphasize those shots. So I can't, like you're saying, I can't get mad when someone we're trying to convert who hasn't had opportunities. And I tell our guys too, you're going to get better looks in college than you did in high school, because in high school you were the guy, and they were probably always trying to attach themselves to you.
Yeah, that's a good
We're
point.
not taking defended threes. I mean, if that closeout is hard, I know what you guys are probably doing.
Yep.
We're going to attack that.
Yeah.
That 0.5, we're either going to shoot it, we're going to drive it, or we're going to move it. And I think you can't get upset when somebody that's not ready to make that shot at the clip we want. Well, what are we going to wait till they work out every summer and come back and show you they can make them? They've got it at some point.
Yeah.
We started a big 6'9" center, Logan Sharp, for 4 years. He a 250-pound big. He didn't even hardly get to do any shooting in high school. He was a rebound guy and never shot a three. Well, every day when we do drills, whether it's Nova drills, sometimes you're the driver, sometimes you're the guy sliding to the corner, and it's our centers. We had a 7-footer, that same deal. And then we told Logan, you're going to have to start shooting those in practice, so somebody at least comes out and gets out of the lane. And he'd make them in practice. He took 3 of them last year, didn't make any of them in the season. But for 4 years, we had let him explore that.
Yeah.
And you can't stop practice. Say, you do this, you do that. I mean, the drill's got to flow. So everybody's got to shoot threes in the drills. And it just doesn't mean you're going to get them in the game. But I think you got to be able to, and that's like playing fast. Man, you got to be, and you guys, I know you guys play super fast. You've got to be okay with that ball going out the front door sometimes. Heck, every now and then you got to be okay with it going out the side door. I mean, it's going to get thrown around a little bit. To play fast, you've got to practice fast. You got to be okay with it.
The Jamodi podcast is powered by Sideline Interactive. Sideline Interactive is the leading manufacturer for high-quality, innovative scoring tables and LED video display boards that help coaches and schools bring more excitement to fans, create huge fundraising opportunities, and make their jobs easier. Visit sidelineinteractive.com to check out their amazing products.
A couple things, a couple golden nuggets that I think you brought up, and Doug Novak said it's not that you have to make it, but that you have to take it.
Absolutely.
That's a big change, because yes, like we want to make shots so that we score more and we give ourselves a chance to win, but we don't need to put any more pressure on these players than they already put on themselves to be excellent or to make shots. When they just know that coach, the expectation is that coach wants me to take it, I think players will do that. And then my goal every year is to try to, with our parent meeting, is to almost be a prophet in some way of letting them know what to expect. Instead of me coming up and saying, hey, we're going to play fast and it's going to look great at the beginning, from beginning to end, I tell them 2 things. Our shooting percentage is going to be really low in November and December. And our turnovers are going to be really high in November, December, because we're just figuring out in a real game scenario, try to figure that out in practice, but it's the best we can do to what the real thing is. But it's going to flip at some point. And it was Spoelstra years ago when LeBron was playing and they wanted to start playing fast. He was talking like this and he was talking really fast. And he said, but at some point I'm going to be able to stay fast, but in my head, it's slow. And I thought, what a cool way to show that. Like, your fingers moving fast, but in my head, it's slowing down. And I think we got to allow our players, like you said, the ability to play with courage, to make those turnovers, to take those chances, not base their game on hope, but things that we practice and we say that you're allowed to do that. We want you to take that. I think that frees them up.
Yeah. And we're really consistent with our voice in practice too. I mean, you'll learn in a hurry. I mean, if you're playing for us, I mean, we're going to be, matter of fact, we're going to clarity. If we turn it over, and I've said this for years, even before it got to be like real popular I also grew up in a time we tried to play a little bit like West Head's Miramont system and a little bit of that. So this isn't new to us playing to
Yeah.
space,
Yeah.
pace and space or race and space, whatever it might be called. But I've always, even as a young coach, I've always told guys, don't pass it ahead unless we get an advantage, gain advantage. Like, why throw it to someone just going down the sideline 15 steps ahead of you for them to catch it and have to? I mean, keep attacking and don't throw it ahead. And you said you're searching out sevens or nines in transition. My verbiage has always been just only pass it ahead to gain an advantage. And we do a drill called Laker drill. It's an awesome drill. I think it's part Coach Showalter when I was at Mid Prairie years ago, part when we went to Iowa Lakes. I was assistant coach at Iowa Lakes, a junior college. We were the Lakers. So I think I called it Laker drill. But there you are in a gym with 25 players, which I find myself in every day, at least. High school open gyms on a summer morning when the ninth graders and the eighth graders going to be ninth graders are all there too. Well, you can't have them all sitting and watching.
That's right.
And I don't most gyms, anymore, there's pretty nice high schools, but most places, maybe two courts. I'm like anti going crossways. I just
Interesting.
I hate it because there's no lines. There's nothing to show. There's nothing that's familiar for spacing.
Yep.
The landmarks are different than what you're going to play on. So now we do it some, and we did it in high school some, but I found this drill we call Laker drill. It's 4-on-4 continuous. It's so simple, but allows that eighth grader that's going to be a ninth grader, like he can play with those. But if we just had to go scrimmage at half court, that little kid that is going to be a hell of a player. I mean, but he just physically can't. He's just not going to be able to do it. But one thing he can do in a 4-on-4 continuous drill, if he can run faster than those other guys and learn to catch and finish, or hit wide open shots, and that's all we encourage. Like we'll give ones and twos. Twos are paint touch, spray out threes. That's only threes that we give 2 for. Everything else is 1. We give back cuts that lead to just a direct layup. That's worth 2 as well. Or we might change the rules to it a little bit, but that's kind of how we play. So 4-on-4 continuous, but you can have 25 kids in a gym, teams of 12.
Score it. Next group comes on.
So if your group, Matt, is like we're purple and white. So if you're purple, I'm white, and we get the drill started, 4 of my white shirts come out. You're bringing it the first time with 4 purple.
Yep.
There's lines at each end. White stays at that end.
Okay.
Purple stays at the other. There's a line, specific lines in corners and one under the basket. So there's 3 lines. It can't be commingling. They got to be in order because we got to know who's first in the line. That's always the deal. So you're bringing it at us. Your rule is you and your 3 partners always got to go back home. You always got to go defend. So if you're on offense, you 4 always have to go back on D. It's just that's the rule. Defensively, you're coming at me. Say you take a shot, you make it or miss it. I'm the one guy on defense that either gets it out of the net or gets the rebound or gets a loose ball. I stay.
Oh.
I go that way. The first 3 guys in each line come with me. The other guys go to the end of the lines. Now we're going towards you. I shoot it. Now you've been in it. You get the rebound. You could be in it. If you keep getting rebounds, you're never out of the drill.
I love that part. That's a good wrinkle.
And then I have to go back. We played a 7, and I used to do it in the summer, and the kids loved it, that sometimes we play a best of 15 series. They can play. Our guys, if we want to get them like loose early in the practice, we do like what we call 80-point shooting. That's just one of those full court transition shooting drills, just to get everybody going up and down. We'll play Laker drill, and we'll have a couple guys make the teams, or I'll make the teams, and all of a sudden black goes 2-0. And if I had to pull players and coaches, they thought white was better, but black shared the ball. They ran harder and
Yeah.
they finished and they talked more. Whatever the keys to success just jump out at you. But now the other team's ticked off because, whoa, you said it was best of 5. It's 2-0. All right, we're not going to do it again until tomorrow. But I never have to tell them what their teams were. I mean, if they're in the middle of it, they remember that then we make new teams after whatever series is over. But it's like the world championship sometimes. I mean, it's just like they love it. So I think it's a great deal for high schools. Like when you have that big open gym and you have a sophomore that maybe you think that he could give you a lift. Well, that's a great way to get him into drill. And all of a sudden those seniors are like, you know what? He just keeps running. He
can play,
rebounds
yeah.
He rebounds out of his area. If it's a big kid, he cleans things up. He doesn't take bad shots. He runs to the rim. He sets good screens. He releases on the rolls. He can catch, finish. But I think that's easier than just stopping it, being stagnant in half court and thinking a young kid's going to learn how to play. I think physicality just takes over. But they learn to trust that kid because, boy, he runs. If I can get to paint, draw defenders, if I can just get to 2 and spray it to that kid in the corner, he just keeps making them. Well, now all of a sudden, that young guy might find a niche that you can somehow use him during the regular season. So 4-on-4 Laker drill, it's a big deal that we do all the time, and it's competitive.
And I want to make sure I got it right. So there's always going to be a changing of 3 players every possession. So it's not
unless it's a steal above the free throw line extended, then all 8 stay. So if you turn it over coming at me, but it's above the free throw line extended, we don't,
because there'd only be 1 ahead with 3 coming behind at that point. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So everybody stays, but every other situation, whether made or missed, whoever of the 4 defenders, whoever grabs the ball, either out of the net or the rebound or a loose
or a
ball,
steal that's below that line,
steal that's below, you're in, and 3 are coming with you. But offensively, you got to get back.
Yeah.
Offense always has to go back home to where when they're done with that, when they're done with that drill, they get to their lines.
And we've done a version of that even at PGC of a continuous 4-on-4, but it's more like 6 to 8 different teams, and one team can stay on and play as long as they continue to score and get stops. I love the idea, especially at a high school where the talent is so different. Like if you get 6 teams, there's going to be 1 or 2 teams that they just don't have the talent to actually stay on the floor. Wow. Here with 2 teams, you spread them out. They may not have the
talent too, or Matt. Here's what happens too: they lose the competitive juice if they're team 5 in points at that moment.
Yep.
If it's 2 teams, it's us against them, and it's a connection. Everybody in the gym.
Coach, I'm going to borrow that game. That's really good.
And we always have managers running the clock, we'll put a smaller shot clock, like maybe a 15-second shot clock on it, that they got to get up and down and do it. We score it. I don't know why I decided to play to 7 years ago, and that's the way we do it.
Well, I like this. I like the 7 with the scoring because you're playing 1s and 2s. To me, we want to always emphasize. You also had another nugget of choosing different actions from day to day that are worth more. Scoring off an offensive rebound, like that right there
could be 2.
Yeah, it gives your rebounding on both ends more emphasis. The kick 3s, or for us, it would be just a 3 in general. Like we hunt for that the same way that we hunt for 9s. And so to give it more of that helps you get to 7 because you can utilize that shot and get there quicker than a team that is just going to hunt for 9s. They have to do that 7 times to win. I love that. I love that.
And 2s and 1s, obviously, I'm not a math genius, but that's different than 2s and 3s.
Yep.
I mean, it's a 50% bump or 100% bump. I'm not a math guy. However you want to classify it, it's worth twice as much. And so that's good. And I tell you what, our guys, and everybody can be successful. Even the freshman that's going to have to put 15 on and just get stronger. And that's going to become evident when we start going more like half court and doing our defense and icing something on the side. He's just not good enough to handle that or whatever. But in this, if you play and you play fast, you can belong in this game. We might do an action like, say we just want like one version of pistol. Like maybe all we're going to do is we're going to say it has to start with a point to wing, ghost, trailer, side ball screen, shake action behind. It has to have that to start with. Or whatever actions we're building, we might say it's got to be a drag screen. If you can't throw it ahead for a layup, it's got to be a drag screen to start it. You know, so you can put it any way you want to put it, and you can add or take away, and you can change the point system.
Are they allowed to get in their lines however they want?
Yeah,
because it's going to change. I mean, they're never going to really have those four guys.
No, it all gets blended up.
Coach,
one guy, we've got some, and I've always had, like, I should have kept like my all-time all-pro Laker drill guys. And it isn't necessarily your best players. You'll be surprised who
they'll start to cancel each other out. It's at what point do the others start to step up and knock down shots? But when we're trying to play like you and I are trying to play, you need all of them. You need all of them to be aggressive and confident.
And it, you know, you make the teams, like I might be different people are going to be like the group captains or whatever. And I think something that coaches got to remember too, leadership has very little to do with playing time. I mean, very little to do with leadership. That doesn't mean some of my best leaders didn't play a lot. That also doesn't mean some of the greatest leaders I've ever had played very much. But leaders are leaders. And so this allows maybe somebody that's just, he's your practice guy, that he's just the culture. He gets it at such a high level. Well, if they start drafting teams, I got my money on that guy because he's aware. Sometimes your best players aren't aware of everybody else. They're aware of themselves. And sometimes your best guys are the ones that they just lead. They get it. They get the scout. They're probably going to be coaches. And they start picking teams like they might know the one guy misses a shot. He doesn't get back as quick. They're not taking that guy. You know, it's funny how people pick things too.
Yeah. And I think the more that we can allow our players to organize themselves, we can sit back and learn a lot about the dynamics that are within our team. I think we rob ourselves of learning about the relationships and how our players view each other because we set them up and we spoon feed them in every way.
Oh, no question. And you know, it goes back to with 20, like last year we had more like 28 or 29 guys. This year we were I think we're going to be like 26. And so it's a little easier to deal with. But I go back to like when I was a young coach at Mid Prairie High School, we had really good teams with Coach. And he always had, and he still does it with his, if you go to USA when he was 62-0, if you watched him work out in Dubai the day before a world championship game, after that shoot around, they circle up, they held hands, they tell the guy beside him, it's always a circle. And I've used it, but here at Cornell, I haven't used it very much. And so just starting to think about sometimes you forget things that have been good to you in the past.
Yeah. And
you just move away from things. So I consciously said, you know, Coach, that was such a good thing. And we did it at Mid Prairie all the time. He's done it at every stop. He does it with those guys. And all it is making you look people in the eye and talk. And it's like, he'll start off with like, tell someone to your right what they did good today. Okay, Matt, I thought you did a good job spacing the floor and making people pay. You were making some shots, or you did a good job getting. You'd say something to the next guy. Some days it's like, tell me something that maybe none of us know about you. You know, I play the guitar. It was funny. He did this with 5 coaches Saturday in Cleveland. It was so funny. It was like, and I'd already started even before this, like, I need to do that again. So the wheels were already turning. And these guys, the first guy goes, something you might not know about me, I play the piano. The next guy, big looking long guys that are probably good hoopers. And the next guy goes, I sing. And the next guy says, I play the guitar. And the last guy goes, I don't play anything. And it was funny, like, you know, he got to him and he didn't play, but it makes you get out of your comfort zone to a certain degree.
Yeah.
So what I told Coach then later is like, I get it. And I get so ticked off. I go back and look at old practices and we circle up at the end and God, I got 8 over there. And it is the most morphed out, bad looking circle. There's, you know, guys are stacked behind each other. I think there's some merit to just looking good, being there, that we can have good communication. If we're trying to talk good communication, a sloppy circle up at the end of practice is not the way to do it.
Yeah.
And so I got to be better at that. So I told Coach O that I'm going to do it, and my guys don't even know it yet, but we're going to do 5 groups, and I'm going to have a circle captain. And some of them I know can handle it. Some of them are good players that are now getting older that need to be better leaders. It's going to get them out of their comfort zone. So they'll kind of know my topic, but at the end of practice, you'll get with your circle group, maybe sometimes in the middle. And we've done this in the past where you have your circles and maybe 4 of my assistants, one of them has each circle. And then they just like mid-practice, like, okay, what's our focus today? Where do you think we're at? And makes the guys talk a little bit. But we'll do these 5 circle groups. There'll be 2 leaders in each group. There'll be 6 to 7 in a group. And then we'll bring everybody together. But it's not going to look like that. I'm tired of that. We're going to be better at that.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just got to, like, what can we be better at that some people might think is stupid, but it's out of your comfort zone. It's communicating. And isn't that what we're trying to get to anyway?
Yes, sir.
So if we can do something every day to make people more empowered to speak up and practice, so it's not the same 5, I just think that's good. So it's funny how you lose track of your ways a little bit, only to come back to it. And it's going to make us better. I can guarantee that.
Coaches, we are all searching for ways to better evaluate players in order to give meaningful feedback. Over 15 years ago, I put together a test called the Jamodi Skill Rating. The JSR takes players through a series of tests involving basketball skill or athleticism, giving them 1 rating at the end. Their JSR rating will give you clarity on what needs to be discussed with players and parents on areas they need to focus on improving. I test our players at least 4 times each year. They're able to compete against each other, past players' scores, and most importantly, their past performances. If you'd like to start testing your athletes, email me at jamodipodcast@gmail.com for more information. I want to get to the speed round so that all the coaches that have heard you at clinics, they get to know you a little bit better. You ready?
Yeah, absolutely.
Favorite ice cream flavor?
Strawberry.
That one's not said very often, but I do think a good strawberry ice cream every once in a while, that's good.
Hard to beat.
Greatest shooter of all time?
I Curry, probably Steph Curry.
Yeah.
But I had a guy named Dean Kessler. Played for us at JUCO. He was pretty good too. And there's a guy named Steve Bontrager, that local guy, and then he played at Oral Roberts and played in Europe forever. He could stroke it with the best of them. Steve Bontrager.
Best basketball movie of all time?
I love Hoosiers, but there's a lot of good ones, but I love Hoosiers.
Yep. Texting or talking?
Probably I like to talk more, but I probably contact more with texting.
Yep. For high school, I'm in Texas where there's no shot clock. For high school, shot clock or no shot clock?
Easiest question you've asked me all day. Shot clock.
Good. I got a little worried for just a second there, but love that.
That's the easy one.
Yeah. I would imagine I've heard a lot of college coaches say when they go to recruit someone to not be able to see the game move, that's difficult for them.
Like Iowa, they reset it to 35 on a miss. A lot of the argument, Iowa has it now, but a lot of the argument was always like, well, we can't find anybody to run a shot clock. Well, you can go to a high school football game, and I can only imagine in Texas compared to Iowa, but in Iowa, you score a touchdown and four-wheelers are going down the track with flags and fireworks are going off.
We got 100 people volunteering at these football games. We can get one.
We can get one. So I'm not buying that one. So
love that. Favorite holiday?
I'm going to say now Christmas, because I know we take 8 days off and my guys are home, and I know I'm going to see my grandkids on Christmas.
Nice.
I'm probably going to Phoenix, so Christmas. But believe it or not, I know this is speed round. I'll deviate here a second. One of the greatest days of the year for me, I've got like two of them, but when my freshmen and their families report for the first day to move in,
nice.
I love it.
Yeah.
I just love it. And then my first day of practice is always like
that is like a holiday.
That's a big deal for me too.
Up 3 on defense with 7 seconds left. Do you foul or no foul?
Oh, you know what? I'd like to say I'm definite one way or another on that. And we just talked about this Sunday morning too in our small group deals. I would say that numbers would probably say foul that guy. And so I would probably say foul. Yeah.
Besides Coach Showalter's book, what book would you give someone?
I think, and it's still early enough. There's a book Todd Grunwell wrote, Lead for God's Sakes.
Oh, yeah.
And it is incredible. Talks about this janitor and a Indiana high school or Kentucky high school coach. It was this, and how he had to evolve to be more caring about his kids than just the X and O. I think mandatory reading for anybody before their season. And I haven't read it yet this year, but I've read it before every year. A lot of times I got on Audible as well. But Lead for God's Sakes. I think it's an incredible book.
Name a bucket list item you still need to do.
I want to take some of my family or all of our family to Scotland, of all things. Oh. And I've had two brothers from Scotland, unbelievable family. But selfishly, I like golfing with my boys, my son-in-law. I want to get some golf in Scotland. Yeah. That's a pretty cool bucket list.
I think everybody will be happy, though, on that trip. So I think you're safe.
Everybody will be happy on that trip.
Yeah, so it'd be like if you said, I want to go to Hawaii for the golf, but my family's going to come. They'll be okay. They'll be okay. Yeah. Last one, probably the most important in basketball, who is the GOAT?
I think it's Michael Jordan, but there have been a lot of great players.
It's a hard question. It's an unanswerable question.
It's a hard question. I think it's Jordan because he was just such a ultra competitive guy. And I think competing is something we didn't even talk about today, but our program is kind of like compete. Doesn't matter what we're doing. We want to compete. And, but I also, one thing I don't like about the NBA is you don't follow a team. It's like you follow players.
Sure.
Where I'm a Green Bay Packer fan. I'm a Chicago Cub fan. It don't matter who's on their roster. I'm a Packer fan and a Cub fan. With the NBA, it's like people kind of follow.
Yeah. When did we lose that? Because if you were watching basketball in the 80s and 90s, it was territorial.
Absolutely. Well, all the marketing it was like tonight, Game 7, the Boston Celtics, Los Angeles Lakers at the Garden. Now it's LeBron is playing KD or what. They don't say what the team was. And I think that's what lost it. But I grew up a big Laker. I'm no team like fan now. But I really think that people forget how great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was.
That's fair.
I think he was in Magic and Larry Bird.
Yeah.
Those were some pretty darn good basketball players. And for the people, we argue all the time at practice. We had one kid, Cam McKinney. He and I argue all the time, like he thinks Kareem would be average in the NBA. I said, you tell me which guy in the NBA going to guard Kareem.
Especially
And
now. I
now
mean,
they would
think
they'd
of the
all foul
Warriors.
out.
Think of the Warriors championship teams. What is Looney? Is Looney or Draymond Green as good of a defender he is? Is he doing anything to the sky hook? Like, oh man.
I think you got to like respect eras, and if you want to get me going against my guys, is these stupid conversations we have them all the time. Like, I don't like disrespect for earlier eras. Just like I'm pretty sure Coach Wooden could be successful today.
No
His
doubt.
teams play different than they
Coach,
probably did back
the
then.
pyramid only works in the 70s. No.
Yeah, you got it. So I think you have to respect your elders. There you go. And I'm an elder, so respect the eras for sure.
Coach, every once in a while, I have these lists of questions that I want to go through, or we try to weave through. And every once in a while, though, I'll maybe ask one of them, and the conversation just goes from there. And so that's what we did just for an hour and a half. I think all of that off of one question. Thank you so much for giving up your time and sharing. And this was an absolute honor for me.
Well, it was awesome. And we recruit Dallas. I like getting down there. One of our all-time Snow Valley guys, Mike Procopio, lives in Dallas. So anytime I can get down,
I had him on. He's awesome. Yeah.
Did you tell him he had to watch his language when he's on with that?
You know what? I think because of here, Grapevine Faith Christian School, they know that I have this faith chair right here.
But he is, you talk about a story.
Yeah.
And just being a grinder. He is, man, is he good.
Awesome.
And I love Mike. So anytime I can get down there, we recruit Texas pretty hard. And so I need to come down and visit you for sure.
I would love that. And Coach, thank you so much for just sharing and everything that you've done for basketball with USA Basketball, with the camps. I can't imagine how many people you've influenced over the years, and just really appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Matt. It was a definite pleasure to be on with you.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the Jamodi Podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.